Good evening, everyone. Hope all is well. So, we are now going to be going live with a property lawyer who deals with conveyancing on property deals in London, in the UK. It's going to be good discussing what the new laws are in the property world that keep buyers and the vendors of the property risk free. So, let's send this over to David. Send. Hope everyone's doing well. If anyone has any questions regarding the property law area, do put them in here.
Hi, David.
Hi there. How are
How are
you?
you? Good, good. And yourself?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Thank you so much for joining me. It's my first live session. I've done so many live sessions, but I've never had a lawyer on here. So it's good to have a lawyer on here, especially a property lawyer who can talk about the new laws in the property world, how good is property conveyancing, and different knowledges that you would like to share with us today. So thank you so much for joining me.
I hope I won't be too boring.
Um, Before we get the conversation going, if you can introduce yourself as to who you are and what you do so that we can move forward.
I'm David Hirschkorn. I am one of the senior partners at a firm called Joelson. We're based in the West End of London, in Portland Place. I head the property team. I lead 10 other property lawyers. We specialise in all aspects of property, from the smallest residential flat all the way to we act for a lot of developers, high-end purchasers from all over the world. We do residential, we do commercial, we do development finance, we act for banks, we act for borrowers,
Wow.
and there's the whole. We
So
have a
anyone that wants to buy a property, you are the man. You can deal with all of that.
any aspect of property. We have also a construction lawyer. We have a property litigation partner who has an assistant. So if there's property disputes, if there's construction disputes, I work with a specialist stamp duty land tax advisor,
Okay. Okay.
probably the best stamp duty advisor in the business. He doesn't.
Okay.
He's a consultant with my firm.
Okay.
Any aspect of property we can deal with. As I say, I started off
Super.
in the last
So
recession.
before I move forward into the law and the property world that deals with all this, I ask this to all my guests. Now you can answer it the way you want it, but I always ask them that, did you aspire to do something else in life? Or did you always want to be a lawyer? Or did you want to be a doctor, an architect, an engineer? What was it that you wanted to do as you were growing up as a child, going to school, university?
Well, I probably would have preferred to have been a Premiership footballer or international cricketer or something. But I trained in the early 90s where there was a property recession,
Okay.
and I enjoyed property. And when I qualified into property, there was a shortage of property lawyers because in the early 90s, there was a big property recession, and lots
Okay.
of property lawyers got laid off. So as I've gone through my career, there's always been a shortage of lawyers at my level.
Okay.
Uh,
And that's what you decided to take on from a very, I mean, getting at university, obviously you had to graduate in the law area, but did you sort of think that from before that, okay, yes, this is what I want to do. I want to become a lawyer in the property sector, and this is how I'm going to do it.
yeah, because I trained in a firm that specialised in family law, actually, which put me off
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Uh, and I worked for a partner who did some property work, and then when I qualified, I went from a very small firm to a large firm, and went from there really.
Wow. It's good to know that. So, how did you start your career? I mean, you mentioned that you were training at a company and then you moved on to qualify and join a bit bigger company. I've seen lawyers getting trained and doing all sorts of works for the lawyers who are qualified and running their companies. How is it the working environment as a trainee working in these companies?
Well, I was fortunate. I trained in a very small firm where they got you involved in the work. Well, I have to say, in my first week as a trainee, the senior partner brought his dog into the office, and I had to walk his dog round Regent's Park.
No way.
At which point I bumped into some friends of my parents, and they said, "Oh, I can see the law's going well." Um, but as I say, I trained in a small firm. Then I ended up working in a very, very large firm in the city for 5 years, where we had about 100 lawyers in my team, and we worked
Wow.
on the largest deal.
And just in your team, you had 100 lawyers.
Yeah, in the
Wow.
property team, we had probably the
Wow.
largest property team in the country at that time. We bought Meadowhall Shopping Centre in Sheffield. So there's many hours were spent, lots of weekends working and all the rest of it.
Wow.
And after that, I left and went to a firm in the West End.
Okay.
And then 2008 recession hit, the banking crisis.
Yep.
And lots of my clients had money and they were doing things, but the firm I was working with were really struggling.
Okay.
So me and 3 others, we broke away and we started our own law firm.
Okay.
In 2010.
And was that transition very easy? I mean, working for a law firm, you have the clients coming in, the businesses coming in, the salaries coming in. How easy was it for you to transition from being an employee to now being a company owner, a business owner, and an employer?
Well, you'll know as you're running your own business.
Of
I
course.
always wanted to run my own business. I came from a background of business owners, and
Okay.
so it was quite next step. But you're right, it's completely different running your own practice, paying the staff, paying the VAT, doing all the stuff that you need to do to run a business.
But then, I mean, running my own business right now, property, right? It's just buying, selling. That's it. We're done. Renting a property, fine. But law is like you have to put yourself in the client's shoes and make sure that you're delivering each and every aspect of that property perfectly to them. I mean, doing that and running the business, it must have been a bit tough for you guys.
It was tough to start off with because there's the compliance piece, but the actual dealing with the clients is very similar to what you're doing.
Of course.
We're delivering a service to clients.
Indeed.
And we're putting clients at the center of our world, and we're trying to deliver the best service we possibly can. In your
Absolutely.
case, it's bringing the best opportunities to clients.
Absolutely.
And it's the same with us. It's obviously covering and assessing risk for them. But my job as a property lawyer has always been more than that. I have clients; they have needs. Do they need finance? So I'm in contact with banks.
Yep.
I'm a property lawyer who works quite closely with agents, and there's some property lawyers who won't take calls from agents, for instance, which is completely balmy. And you're nodding there. I mean, I find that baffling because I've always got lots of work from agents, which is. The bad times,
It always comes down to when they're not, possibly taking their time to write one email. So just to get that confirmation across, it may be for searches, it may be for, the land around it, whatever it is. Sometimes lawyers do take their time to get back to the other party or to the vendor or to their own client. Why is it that, I mean, yes, I understand that you're busy, you're going through tens and thousands of papers to read through it and to make your judgment on it. But then why don't they answer the calls, or why do they take so long to get back to you on one email, even if it's one sentence, for example?
I hope my team don't take that long. As I say,
I've never used your team, but I'll make sure for the next transaction I do come to you.
You should come to us.
Absolutely.
I have a rule that we go straight back, and that the clients that we act for are entrepreneurs who are developers, or they're people who are playing with their own money. So whether it's residential or commercial, it's very time critical, and our team of lawyers are experienced, so they're not junior. Most of the lawyers that work for me are at least 5 years qualified, and and they respond quickly. Obviously, the skill of dealing with the public is all about communication and keeping people up to date.
Of course.
Which I'm sure you can relate to.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, when it comes to selling a property or even renting the property, you know, you've got to be on top of things to reply to them. I mean, yesterday only I had an offer agreed on one of the properties that I'm working on. I've been working on it for 3 months. It was back and forth, and literally today the owner called me up and he said, why did you take your time to send the offer through? I mean, I said it just took me 15 minutes from when the guy sent me the offer to when I sent it. But you know, some people are just like, no, you got to do it now. So, but anyways, the question that I also wanted to ask you is, you've been in this industry, you've been in the law industry, the property law industry for the past 20 odd years. How have you seen the laws within the property sector change over time? And have they been for the good or have they changed for the worst?
Well, I've been a property lawyer nearly 25 years now. The biggest change in property has been the change in stamp duty.
Of course.
When I first qualified, the stamp duty form was 1 page, and sometimes as a trainee you'd get sent down to Bush House with a form, and you'd fill the form as you were walking along, and you'd have a check from the office, you'd pay it, and there's a machine would stamp it, and it would be 1% of the purchase price. It would be quite a small amount of money, and it wasn't a problem.
Yep.
Now stamp duty is, you know, it's a large form. It's quite complicated. I have a specialist consultant, and the costs are you know, huge.
Of course.
I mean, you know, it comes to some millions on large transactions. So stamp duty has been a major change. Obviously, the compliance side has changed.
AML, KYC.
AML. I mean, when I first started, I remember a firm that I worked for did debt collection for American Express, and I remember seeing clients come in, you know, with bags of cash to the reception 25 years ago.
No way.
To pay credit card bills. That
Seriously.
to go into houses, but obviously,
wow.
That doesn't. I doubt whether that happens anymore.
I mean, walking with a bag of cash in a bank, maybe they might just take it. But walking in a lawyer's firm with cash, you know, it's not going to happen in today's day and age. I mean, they're going to ask you for. I mean, I remember the transaction that I did in 2018, where the buyers were from Azerbaijan, and literally, because Azerbaijan comes into that category of a high risk for money laundering, and the lawyers on the other side who were acting for the buyer, they had to give. Are you with me, David? Hello? Hello? Are you with me?
Hi.
Can you hear me well? David? Yep. Super.
You there?
So I was telling you about this transaction that I was doing, that, you know, they asked for each and every single detail. I mean, literally the DNA of that person, you know, and we had to run back and forth till the very last day of exchange in getting documents over to them. Why is it so complex when it comes to AML and KYCs? Why do lawyers have to go the extra mile to show that this client is right, his money is right? Why is the case?
For the regulators. And you know, London has had criticism that we've attracted. Obviously, London is a centre and it's attracted buyers from all over the world. And I've acted for people from all countries across the world over years, and that's a good thing. You know, about letting people from Hong Kong come over here, which would be great in my view. But anyway, money laundering is now a really hot topic. And we have to trace money all the way back to its source, to make sure that it's not laundered money, that it's not of crime, etc., etc. So, coming from certain countries, you know, I've acted for clients from Iran in the past where we've had to do
Yep.
all sorts of checks
Absolutely.
on them. And actually, as a lawyer, that you're saying the major check is that it can actually take some time to actually open a file to get it
Exactly.
before you can any work.
Absolutely.
Especially when you're dealing with my firm, we have a whole compliance team, and the larger, you have to know the person and you have to meet them. It's a big area now.
Indeed. Indeed.
I mean,
And do you think it's going to it's going to get even more tighter with all these cashless transactions and banks not accepting a lot of cash? I mean, do you think it's going to get even tighter with AMLs and KYCs over the years that are to come?
I think
Sorry,
so. I think it's a
yeah.
real issue. I mean, different to the world that sometimes I used to do, is where I would basically go with a banker's draft to a lawyer's office, go through the papers, exchange contracts there and then. I used to do that a lot in the old days.
Seriously.
Not so
Wow.
much
Wow.
recently, but
And do you
done in the past.
and do you think it's made your life even harder, or has it made it easier with all these checks that are going through as a lawyer?
I think it's made things harder. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I see that on a daily basis when it comes to knowing the source of the income or the money that it's come from, where it's come from, all that kind of stuff. Coming back to the property law, which I was mentioning, how have things changed over the years? We spoke about AML, we spoke about KYC, we spoke about stamp duty. Are there any other aspects that buyers or vendors should be aware of? Sorry, can you hear me well? David, I cannot hear you. Nope. Why don't you cancel this and rejoin again? We should have David shortly back here discussing about property law. Let me just send him a quick message here at Super. Sorry about this, guys. We should have David back. Yep.
Hi
All
there.
good.
That's
Yep.
better.
Yep.
Hi.
All well. So I was just asking you, we spoke about stamp duty, we spoke about AML, we spoke about KYC. Are there any other laws that are being drafted right now, or we should know about during these times, that how is it going to affect the purchases, the sales of properties in the UK?
Well, at the moment, you can't take action against tenants who don't pay your rent,
Of
whether
course,
it's commercial or
residential.
so there's that. Obviously, to get a tenant out of a property if you're a landlord is difficult these days. You have to show that you know, gas safety, EPCs, all sorts of stuff that you needed to have done. Otherwise, you could, not get the tenants out of properties.
Indeed, indeed.
Buying and selling, I think, will become easier as we go forward because of technology.
Yep.
Through this pandemic, the land registry have not allowed digital signatures. So
Okay.
my corporate colleagues are surprised that we can't do property transactions, not by digital signatures. They've been doing it for years. We can do it for contracts, but the land registry won't accept them for transfer deeds. But I think that's going to come. I think the conveyancing process is always seen from the outside as very slow compared to other. So I think there'll be a push to speed that up.
So from what
You know,
you're saying, a property purchase or property sale can take even more longer after COVID and lockdown.
no, I think it will get. I think it will be quicker. I think people are keen to do transactions.
Absolutely.
But in the residential world, is that there's been a race to the bottom in terms of fees, and so you've
Of
got
course.
some very, very large outfits who charge very little. But then you only get what you pay for in life.
Absolutely.
That.
Absolutely. That's absolutely a fact. But thank you so much for coming on here, sharing some amazing piece of advice on how to go about and transact on properties, what lawyers you should use who know the market really well, who know the conveyancing area really well, and they can get these transactions done as soon as someone wants them done. So thank you so much for coming on here, David. Before you go, if you can share some positive piece of, I can't hear
Thank you
you.
very much.
Super. Before I let you go, if you can share a positive piece of advice for the listeners out here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me well?
Can you hear me?
Yep, now I can. Yes, I can.
Can you guys buy property?
You're breaking up again.
Contact me at my firm. We're Joelson Law. David.h@law.com.
Super. I was going to say that anyways after you left, but I'll say it again. Thank you.
Great to talk to
Thank you so much. Take care. Absolutely.
Always use you to sell your properties, though.
I will. I will come back to you for the next transaction that I do.
Take care.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for your
much.
time.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. So that was David Herkashon from Joelson Law. Do get in contact with him if you are looking for a property transaction. It be sales, it be purchasing, wherever you may be. You may be a foreign investor, you may be a UK buyer. If you're interested in buying a property and using them as your conveyance lawyer, do get in touch. Thank you to David. Thank you to all the viewers that tuned in today. It's been a pleasure. Tomorrow is going to be super big because I've got my father-in-law coming on this live session. So take care and we shall see you soon. Bye-bye.